customer agronomist with Dow Seeds, and today we're just going to talk a bit about how to look at your plot results and how to interpret a head-to-head and go through it and pick out the important points out of it. So we have just a single plot result. It's a harvest report. In the fall we go in, we harvest our plots, we harvest them with the combine, we weigh the results or weigh the yield in a weigh wagon, and it's recorded onto a sheet and it gets entered into what we call our field trial database. So once it's entered into the database, I can generate a plot result that just shows basically your yield, the bushels per acre for each hybrid that was in that particular plot. We record information such as soil texture, row width. So the initial information in our form, we record the tillage type, the previous crop, any sort of fertility, whether it's manure or and whether they're putting on some in-season nitrogen, that kind of thing. Anything that can give us an idea of how these hybrids perform on that particular field conditions. The other thing that we record throughout the season, we record the planting population. So let's say the grower wanted to plant 32,000 plants. And we also come in mid-season and record the actual population because plot seed comes in a bag. Sometimes it's mixed seed sizes. We don't adjust the planter based on a different seed size. So we can get some variability in planting population. It's generally close, but that can help you filter out whether if a yield's close within 5 bushels or something, if the planting population was different, that could be the reason that the yield is 5 bushels off. Once we get our individual plots, we dump them into our database and we can run what we call a head-to-head. So it's basically a comparison of a single hybrid against competitors, against our own commercial hybrids, but it's where we can look at multiple locations. So multiple locations just gives you a better idea of how that particular hybrid performs across a range of locations. If you look at just one plot, one individual location, it's good to get some idea of how that hybrid performed in your particular area, but when you put in multiple locations, you get a better idea of how it's going to perform in a range of conditions, and you're looking for trends. If a hybrid performs better over multiple locations, there's a good chance that when you plant it in your field, it's going to perform well, given whatever Mother Nature throws at it. The biggest things to look at here are, and this is our plot program specific, but we list the years that we're looking at. In this case, we're looking at a 3-year report. We also run a 1-year, so we'll run a 2016 or a 2015 report separate from the other years. You can look at the environment impact on yields, comparing different hybrids that way. Multi-year gives you a good idea of how that consistency of a hybrid is going to perform. If it performs well for 3 years against the same hybrid, that's a solid, stable hybrid. And we're also looking at, in my case, I try and run these in southwestern Ontario. That's my area. If you were in the north, you would use like the northern or central part of Ontario. When you can get the data specific, multiple locations for your growing area, that gives you just a better idea of how that's going to perform. So if you're looking at data and it's from, let's say, North America, that's not going to be as precise as if we can look at data from just Ontario. And it's nice to have kind of both of those scenarios too, where we can look at a broad range and then we can narrow it down to specific areas. So in this case, we're looking at just southern Ontario. Not too much else here, just some location data. The other important thing is when you're looking down on the far side, we actually have the number of locations. So in the case with our Dow Seeds hybrids, we have more locations, 18. Some of the competitors, the location gets down, but 16 is kind of the magic number. That's what you would want. That takes several years to generate that data, and sometimes the competitor hybrids change between then. So 7 is a respectable number. When you're getting down into 3, 2 locations, you're kind of just looking at a broad trend. You can't pinpoint and say, well, it's always going to be 5 bushels higher at that small location. But you're basically looking at a hybrid that's going to do well against various competitors and be in the ballpark with those competitors. The other thing that's important to note on here is we list the yield and then the yield difference. We also list the percent moisture. So you want to just make sure that your hybrid is in the same kind of range of moisture, and that is an indication of the maturity. If you're a point or 2 wetter, that means the maturity of those 2 hybrids you're comparing isn't exactly the same. But that gives you an idea of how a hybrid's going to perform against the competition.